So I'm calling you right now, Mr. Spokesperson. It's adding up. Hopefully you will go through this time. Like I said, I apologize to our viewers for opinion for what happened. It's so distracted. Hopefully this thing, will square out and it will work.
It's beginning to be annoying.
So it's not answering. Let's go ahead and find another way.
I'm here.
Hello.
How are you? Yes, how are you?
I really apologize. This is so crazy.
No,
I don't know what happened. So it's not.
When you find yourself doing something positive, there's a lot of resistance always from negative forces.
That's correct. So I'm gonna give you an opportunity now to enlighten our people, about the peace process, and instead going directly to the question, and then I will go back to the question again. Go ahead.
Is that we have pursued the peace process in the country, and we have become successful. We have signed an agreement with almost all the opposition forces, both unarmed and armed, and we have already started the pre-interim period arrangements. The committee has been set up. Some of the members of the committee from political parties and from former detainees like those of Deng Alor are already in Juba, and they have met President Salva. Our Chief of Defense Forces has already gone to Khartoum and has met the Chief of Staff of the SPLA-IO and the Chief of Staffs of the armies of the region to make sure that there are no loopholes in Chapter 2 and security arrangements that can easily fold the country back to conflict. So a lot of things has been done in that regard to make sure that peace and stability is restored back in the country.
Okay, now going back to my question, where we get disrupted. So we are hearing now that Dr. Agel Machar is coming to Juba for celebration. What is the mood? What is the mood of your boss, the first vice president, that Dr. Agel Machar is coming?
We have been pushing for Dr. Riek to denounce violence and to come and pursue his political interests in a peaceful manner since 2016. And now that he has heard that call, and he has asked all his forces to cease fire permanently, and is willing to join the transitional government of national unity, we are more than happy to welcome him to Juba. We have been agitating for him to come back to Juba and join us in the process. He's a key leader in the country. He's a key political player in the country. We only disagree with him over the continuation of violence. And if this conflict can be transformed from violence to political sphere, we are very happy with it. So the organization itself will be done under the first Vice President, General Taban, and we will be at the airport to receive him to come and celebrate with us for the achievement of peace in the country. So we have any hard feelings against Dr. Riek or any other opposition leader in the country. We only differ on national issues. And if the national issues are resolved and we have agreed as leaders to sign an agreement, we will implement it in spirit and letter.
Okay. Now, we are all aware that the expansion of the government after revitalization, 550 members of National Legislative Assembly, 45 ministers. I did my own math,
ministers.
you know, yeah,
35.
45 ministers, correct?
35
ministers. I did my own, you know, math here. And as you know that every official actually will have a V8 car. So now I came up with just only cars alone. It will cost $60 million to accommodate all this, where the government is going to get fund to do all this thing. And don't you think this is taking the money that's supposed to be used for projects, you know, hospitals, roads, and other stuff that for the citizen?
You know, my brother, this line of questioning is by those who are skeptical about the nature of this agreement that we have just signed. At the onset, let me say that the peace agreement is not perfect. I'm not going to defend the peace agreement. But any agreement, any peace, no matter how bad it is better than war. We will all agree on that. And war costs more than any bad peace. The amount we spend in war, in killing ourselves, is not comparable with the amount of money we are talking about now. So the agreement is not perfect, but it's the best we could do as the people of South Sudan to transition us to a far much better. So the agreement itself is only transition. We only have 3 years. So what you are saying here are going to cost is only within the transitional period. Through the permanent constitution making process, we will reduce the number of government. We will shrink it to manageable level. We will reduce the number of assembly from 500, I understand, to be under 200, in accordance with what is done internationally per capita or per population of any country. So all these things will be corrected in 2 years. And if that is the money that it cost us for us to bring back peace and stability in the country, the government under President Salva is prepared to pay any price and to make any compromise to make sure that peace, tranquility, and unity of our people is restored in the shortest time possible. So it's not a perfect peace agreement, but it's the best we can do for now. And I urge all the citizens of South Sudan, our partners internationally, to back this peace, to make sure it is smoothly implemented, to allow us to transition to a peaceful, free and fair elections.
Good, thank you. So now, Dr. Riek Machar coming to Juba. Are we expecting Dr. Riek Machar, President Kiir, and the first Vice President Taban Dengai will go together to visit the displaced person who came in Juba, in Wau, in Malakal? Are we expecting something like that would happen?
Eventually, it will happen, but I think in this celebration, he will be the time frame will be short, and we have a lot of work that we're doing. But the issue of the displaced person is addressed in the agreement. There is the issue of repatriation, reparation for those who have lost their properties in the region that were hard hit by the conflict. It was in the first agreement in 2015. It is also in this agreement. And of course, the people of South Sudan will have to be given dignified return to their homes so that they can participate in the constitution making process, the permanent constitution, so that they also get counted in the census, so that they can have a voice to choose their leaders at the end of the transitional period. So this is something that will be dealt with. And now that the peace agreement is owned by the leaders themselves, by President Salva, Riek Machar, General Taban, and Wani, it will be incumbent upon them to go and preach this peace to the grassroots. So eventually, at some point, they will have to join hands, and they will have to go on rallies to those areas, IDP camps and refugee camps, to make sure the people are returned home and restart their life, and live a dignified life that we have fought for so long and we have sacrificed so much for. So it will eventually happen. But I have a feeling that this invitation that the president gave to the first vice president is for him to attend the celebration, which will be done over 1 or 2 days. So you will see them holding hands in public. They will shake hands. They will probably dance together. They will probably give speeches of a unified voice to the people of South Sudan, to the region and international community, that we have decided to put our differences behind us, and we have now decided if there are political differences we are going to solve them amicably and in a civilized manner, the way they are addressed in our region, continentally and internationally. These barbaric ways of solving political problems we must end as the people of South Sudan, and we must open a new page where we work together and sort out our differences as a civilized community.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for that. So I have more questions here, and I'm sorry one more time, for distraction that we had, because I was putting anything in order. But anyway, we catch up, we will get it. Some citizen, they don't differentiate between the government and the tribe, and that's why we're having all this dilemma, whether in social media or in the ground. What is your response to those people?
It is us, the politicians, that are confusing our public. This ticket with our tribe, it is us, the politician, that has introduced it to our communities. Our communities have coexisted in one place for thousands of years. The fact that they are at each other's throat all of a sudden and they want to kill each other is an influence from us. So we need to solve this thing from up, and we need to take this message that we are now unified to the grassroots so that they go back to their normal lives and live normally as brothers and sisters. They have intermarried, they have traded with each other, they have coexisted for many years, and they will continue to coexist for many years. For example, in the last 21 years of war for our freedom, we fought alongside each other. In the battlefield, you will find a Nuer next to a Denka, next to a Bari, next to a Kuku, fighting for the same freedom. When we voted for a referendum, all the lines were filled up. You will find a Dinka, followed by a Nuer, followed by an Equatorian. So the people of South Sudan have been living side by side. It is us, the politicians, that have confused them. And we have to correct this. This is unbecoming, and we have to move to the next level, where we only place our programs for the country in front of the citizen, and the citizenry can then decide which program is good for them in this term through the ballot boxes. So Kalamata Gabilia has to end.
Yeah, I'm still there, because recently I am a critic of the government. And actually, when you criticize, there is no government without opposition. Opposition is not necessarily to get a gun, but when you criticize government, you have seen some wrong there. And actually, the government supposed to take an opportunity and improve in the area that they have been criticized. Lately, our people, they have seen me as someone who is an anti-Dinka. If you criticize the president, and then you criticize Dinka. If you criticize, the SPLM, you criticize the Dinka. If you criticize, so I don't get it. I still need more clarification. What the government official can tell those citizens and the other communities who are actually mixing, who don't see this is a South Sudanese government. They see it as a one-tribe government.
It is a toxic environment that this has accumulated over years. These are mistakes that have been done over years to create this fallacy. But if you go into the government and see the number of, whether the number of ministers or the numbers of members of parliament or whatever, you will see that all South Sudanese faces are represented there to some degree. So this is not true. This is not true. People are free to criticize the government regardless of where they come from. I'm in the opposition. I'm in the SPLM-IO. We have just dissolved our organization and joined the SPLM, but all these years of the conflict, I've been in the SPLM-IO, and I'm a Dinka. There is no government of tribe, and there is no movement of tribe. These are political organizations with their political interest and their political program for the people of South Sudan. They only differ, and people differ politically anywhere in the world. The problem with us is that we want to solve it by the barrel of a gun, and that which we have decided to end. And this political discourse will continue, but in a civilized manner. So you don't have to worry. And by the way, the government, yes, the government has been hard on critics, but that you expect with a government that is handling war. The government that is at war sometimes has to declare a state of emergencies in certain areas. It has to clamp down on civil rights to protect itself and territorial integrity of the country. So the government at war has difficulties in running the country smoothly, whether economically or these issues of human rights and civil rights. And that's why ending the war, so that the government can go back to its traditional responsibilities, and that is provision of security to all its citizens, regardless of their region, tribes, religion, and ethnicity, or all this, and also to provide services equally to its citizens. So the sooner we end the war completely, bring back stability in the country, the sooner it will be that the government will be the government that represents all the people of South Sudan and works for the people of South Sudan and by the people of South Sudan. So this is just a toxic environment that is for a short period of time. We, the leaders, contributed to creating it, and we are now going to contribute to cleaning it up, and we are committed to this. So the next 3 years, 4 years of transitional period, we will be busy trying to correct the mistakes we have done in the past and try to explain to the people of South Sudan that we are one people, and God is not mistaken to put us in this region together with our diversity. And our diversity is a strength that we can use to build our country instead of being used to divide us and tear the country apart.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Agel, lately we have been heard or so many cries on the social media back home. What happened in the Western Barkazal? We have heard that civilians have been killed. Walk us through what's going on there.
I have no idea. I'm still on my trip overseas. I've been away now for 2 weeks, and I have not been briefed about the security situation in Western Barkazal state.
Okay, that's good. So now we know that all those who went for opposition, is particularly IO, now they are coming back for revitalization. And the government, I want to know what government is doing. What is the master plan for a development in the country for the next generation? Is there any plan for a development? And we wanted to know that.
If you are close inside of this government has a lot of good plans in paper. If you look at the documentations and the strategic plans for each of the ministry and for the government, they are well written. The problem has been implementation of those programs. It is not lack of the programs. It is the implementation of program because the government has been struggling with different priorities. First, it was the issue of gearing towards independence. When independence came, it became the issue of this power struggle within the party that broke into war. And the government has not given itself a chance to go back to its own book and implement its own strategic plan. As a political party, the ruling party, SPLM, and as government institutions were represented by various ministries. So program is there. The problem is, what is the priority? What is the government concentrating on? And currently the government is concentrating in restoring peace and stability in the country. But of course, this stability, for it to be sustainable, people must see the dividend of peace. They must see development. There must be a change in their life, improvement in their lives. They must see their cattle vaccinated. They must see improvement in their agricultural output. They must see roads and so forth. Those programs are in place. But of course, the priority is to create stability, tranquility, and to restore and repair the social fabric that has been torn by divisions of the last 4 years.
Okay. You talk about the economic in the country and peace. Now, the core values of South Sudanese carrying a gun and fighting the North for nearly 22 years was for justice, liberty, and prosperity.
Correct.
A couple weeks back, we have been talking here on the social media about the political detainees and all detainees that are still in prison in Juba. When we're going to see those, are released, because so people can feel the sense of peace is here.
What I can say on that is that the president has made an order, and he has ordered the chief of staff and security apparatus in the country to make sure all political detainees are released. This is a Republican order. It has to be implemented by everybody in the country. Because, as I said, the country was at war, and the government at war always tries to clamp down on certain rights and infringe on certain rights. You don't expect the government at war to function the same as the government of a country at peace, like some countries in the neighboring countries. So the order is already out, and I think there's a process undergoing to make sure all those political detainees are released. But what I want to tell you is this: not every politician arrested is a political detainee. There are political activists that have committed certain crimes, and they are going through court process. So you are not a political detainee because you are a politician. You are a political detainee because you are arrested for political reasons. So it is the reason of your arrest that makes you a political detainee, not because you are a politician. So some of these are issues of the fact that the judiciary in the country is not as efficient and developed as the judiciary of America, for example, the countries where we live in the diaspora, where if you are arrested today, your process takes very quick, and you go in front of the judge, and the judge trial is done in a speedy manner. Some of these people, sometimes you'll be clocked up. Even in Kenya, they are still struggling with this judiciary. Sometimes you'll find yourself being remanded for a few months because the court process is not that efficient. This is not the government deliberately detaining somebody. This is the fact that the system itself is not. And in the agreement, we have seen the reforms of judiciary. It has been articulated very well about how best we can reform the judiciary so that it is efficient, so that those who are arrested for crimes are brought between the judge as soon as possible, and they are either convicted or free based on the evidence presented by the prosecution. So some of these people, sometimes they stay longer than they are because of this lack of the problem. But those who are detained for political purposes because of the last 4 years of war have been ordered to be released. And if there is anybody that is within this, there are ways you can, the family members or those who know them can address these issues to the presidency or to the authorities in the country, that so-and-so is detained and we believe is a political detainee, and 1, 2, 3 things, and can be followed up from there, because the president has committed himself and is the top authority in the country. And if the president has said these people must be released, I believe they will be released.
Yes, thank you. Now you're talking about, the broken judicial. At the same time, we all know that, South Sudan, all the power are concentrated on the hand of the president. So are you telling me, Mr. Spokesperson, that the security, the national security, is not going to arrest those who write articles, those who talk about politics, assemble, and so forth?
As I told you, the government is a new government, and is a government that is dealing with war. It's a government that is at war with the opposition. So it is difficult for it to consider absolute freedom of media. But there is certain and relative freedom of the media within the country. There's level of, you can criticize up to a certain level. But as I said, when the war is ended, stability is restored, all this situation will get better. About the issue of the fact that the power are restored in the hand of the president, of course, the president cannot have powers that have not been given to him by the Constitution. If the Constitution of the 2011 provided certain powers to the president, of course, the president will have to exercise those powers. But in this agreement, we have the process of permanent constitution-making process that is based on the public themselves. So it will be an opportunity for us to restructure our constitution to make sure that the power is divided and balanced fairly between the executive, judiciary, and the assembly, the way it is in other Western countries. It will also be an opportunity for us to restructure the judiciary in a way that make them know their responsibility and carry out their responsibility based on the new constitution. So some of these things, it's just putting the cat before the horse. But we are in the process of making sure that the country is restructured, the country is reunited, and is stable, so that all these issues are dealt with in time, so that we live like any other normal country that has a division of powers, that has an efficient judiciary, that has an effective parliament, that has an executive that knows its responsibilities and its limitation. But you don't expect a country whose permanent constitution is not yet out, and whose president is dealing with war, and he has to declare a state of emergency in some part of the country because of intercommunal conflicts, like in those areas of Rumbek and those areas of Boreal and Greater Jonglei, and some of these areas where armed youth are marauding and cattle raiding, and a lot of insecurities causing a lot of displacement. So the president sometimes has to clamp down and get more power to try and control for the benefit of the people. But he knows that the time will come where a permanent constitution will be rewritten, and the powers will be distributed according to normal standards that is being carried out in the region, continentally and internationally.
Thank you. Now, many people, they were calling that interim period should not include President Salva Kiir and Dr. Riek Machar, including myself. I was one of the people who used to say that. Now, it became like there's no way out. Those leaders, they have to lead the interim period. How about if there is any election in 2021, is President Kiir and Dr. Riek Machar are still willing to run for that coming election? And if they are, what do we expect if one of them win that election? Don't you see that we're going to have war of rigging election after that?
First of all, the decision of an individual politician to run, it is the decision of that individual and the party, the political organization that they lead or they are part of. So the SPLM-IO and the Korea will decide for themselves, I cannot speak for themselves, whether they want to contest in the 2021 or 2022 elections, or they want to bring somebody else. That is their own right as a political party. The SPLM under Comrade Salva will also decide whether they want to field President Salva for the presidency or somebody else. It is up to them. It is not up to Agel Machar or you or anybody else. Secondly, post-election violence are common in Africa because many people feel the incumbent may rig the elections. These fears are legitimate and they are there. And we in the government are mindful about that. And we are going to make sure we get as much support as possible with IGAD, with AU, with the United Nations to make sure that they help us conduct free and fair elections that are credible so that whoever wins because that is the verdict of the people of South Sudan. So nobody is interested in rigging elections that can cause post-election violence. So we hope that the election will be free. The international community will help us conduct free and fair elections so that the people of South Sudan give their verdict. And Dr. Riek and President Salva are on record before saying that if they lose free and fair elections, they are willing to go home and write books and write memos about themselves and autobiographies and so forth. So they are on record saying that.
They have been saying this, but at the end of the day, the ordinary citizens are always victim. And as a citizen, we suppose, to remind them that we need, measures, preventive measures to put in place because we have already been in mess and we cannot afford any other war coming, after all this, Anyway.
That is correct. Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Anyway, my next question to you here, Mr. Agel. Now, we have been, talking about the rules of Randit. They are not, allowing those young generation, to come out with their new ideals, because I believe the unity is supposed to be based on ideals, not because you are older or whatever you have or something. Are you getting kind of that rules of Randit? Now, how are you dealing with rule of Randit within the government?
That's a very sensitive question. That's the most dangerous question there is now in Juba these days. There is this idea called the generational exit, where a Jasindel have to be told to go home and a younger generation of leaders come in and so forth. So I'm not going to sign up to that program because those who sign up to it, like those of Peter Biara, are now in Blue House and I'm enjoying my freedom. I don't want to go to Blue House. So I'm not going to speak on this issue with a generational exit. But it is a natural phenomena that the old generation will be phased out and a younger generation of leaders will come. There is no 1, 2, 3. Nobody can defy nature. So even if we sit here for 20, 30 years and leave them, even if we don't talk to them, they will leave by themselves. The nature will take them away. So I hope, this agreement has actually tried to focus on the issues of youth leaders and women. The agreement has given 35% to women and has instructed the government to make sure that the Ministry of Youth and Sport is given to somebody under 40. The agreement is specific about that. It did not just say young people, it said it must be somebody under 40. So hopefully the President Salva on this side and the opposition on the other side will try very hard to consider injecting in new blood into their government in 8 months. It will help them in in frog lifting into the future. But it is something. It is something that we have to look into. How to make sure this idea of a 39-year-old or a 38-year-old like me, who is married with 4 children, is still considered a child in our society. These are issues we have to handle. These are outdated ideas. We have seen across the world, leave alone even across the world, even in our neighborhood, we have seen a 42 or a 43-year-old prime minister of Ethiopia that is governing almost 100 million people. So if a 43-year-old can govern 100 million people, why can a 40-year-old govern 10 million people in South Sudan? And we have seen the things he have done. It has been a revolution. We have seen how he has brought the freedom, how he has the ideal of democracy, the peace with Eritrea. His impact is sweeping across the region. You have seen the last few days how he handled the issue of the rioting soldiers rioting, going to the presidential palace. In other countries, this is a mutiny. This is a rebellion. It will be met with the unmatched force. But instead, he talked to them and he neutralized them to the point that the soldiers who were rioting were fighting over doing selfies with him. They want to take pictures with him after he talked to them. So this kind of new youthful leadership is important, and South Sudan need to pay attention to that.
Correct. So now, Agel, President Kiir since 2011 hasn't visited, various states. It's always in Juba, and then he will take up to Rwanda, to China. What's going on? What's going on? Why president is not visiting?
I don't speak for the president. You need to track down Atanyuek.
Okay, no problem. I'm not gonna go that way.
You can only ask me where Taban goes, and I will tell you why he's not going there or why he goes there. But the president is a different institution, and the spokesperson for the president is my brother Atanyuek Atany.
Well,
so
you guys are the same.
The issues facing the president about why he travels and why he doesn't travel, I'm not briefed about his travel plans, and I don't know why he travels and why he doesn't travel.
Okay, that's good enough. So now we want to have more time, but I don't know your schedule is, because some people actually they want to ask you some question, and I don't know.
You pick 5 questions. You pick 5 questions. You pick 5 questions from the people here.
Okay, I'll pick.
And then we'll end it down.
Before I give you the final words, I'm gonna go ahead and pick 5 questions here. Let me go ahead and see. Actually, there is a question from Mary Riak. She was asking that women are represented 35%. Are these 35% have been fulfilled in the government now?
Currently, the government is working under 25%. Because the agreement, when it was signed in 2015, it was 25%. And those 25% were fulfilled by President Salva. That's why we have people like Nunu Kumba, people like Madam Awood, people like Rebecca Joshua, people like Josephine Napon, people like Nadia Robdudi. So those are all cabinet ministers I'm counting. But now it has been raised to 35%. And I'm sure, based on history, President Salva has always been very strict with the issue of women representation. And I'm hopeful that in 8 months, he will fulfill the 35% needed by him. So women are represented well, according to the agreed, before 25%. And now 35% will also be fulfilled by President Salva in 8 months, when the government is formed.
Okay, thank you. Actually, there is a question here, but it looked like you touched that before. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and ask you. So, Brother Atilio, Abu Yasmin down there, he asked a question. He said, is General Taban Dengai, the first vice president, is going to reconcile with Dr. Agel Machar? Are we going to see this real reconciliation between them?
Reconciliation is a two-way traffic, but we in the government, we are serious about reconciling with Dr. Agel Machar and all the opposition forces, for that matter. And that's why we stretch out, we compromise. General Taban agreed to step down from his position for Dr. Agel to make sure that there is reconciliation among the leaders in the country. So Taban has already shown a step by stepping down without any quarrel, peacefully. That is already a step by the first Vice President General Taban Dengai towards reconciling with Dr. Agel or any other opposition leaders. So it was not personal. We just had differences on national issues, And now that those national issues have been resolved, we are going to reconcile. If President Salva can reconcile with Dr. Riek and they are the one that have been fighting for the last 4 or 5 years, why not General Taban and Dr. Riek that have just been fighting for 2 years? So they will reconcile. It is not up to them. It is for the people of South Sudan, the people they lead, and they must be responsive to the needs of the people of South Sudan. The people of South Sudan wants them to reconcile, and they will be responsive to that if they want to continue to be leaders of the people of South Sudan. There is no way out.
Another question here from me. Thank you for your courage for coming to social media and answer some questions from us. Even though we have difficulties today, you know, scoring this out because of hackers, whatever, you know, happening. Now, my question is, so many old school leaders in South Sudan, they are avoiding the media, particularly social media. What is your response of that? They think we are making noise, we don't make sense, and why they are running away from the real people? We are the real people. We are ordinary citizens. What is your response?
I work with them closely, and most of them are media shy. It comes with the territory. It comes with the generation. Most of these politicians we have here are former generals who spent all their lives in the army fighting for the freedom of the people of South Sudan. So they are not politicians per se. They did not stem from social activism the way you are starting, and the way I started with youth activism and so forth. So, and soldiers are not supposed to speak. Soldiers are always reserved in what they say. They're always quiet. They always plan more, and they're always action oriented, and they don't speak a lot. So the same culture has also, they have just changed the uniform for suits. So they don't like too much talking. Generally, it's not that they hate you. It's just they don't, even their own local media, that the media they control, like SSBC, the one that is national TV, they don't go to it often. So they're just like that. It comes with the generation. That's why we say injecting in young generation to this government will help them leapfrog into the 21st century, to make sure that the younger generation also understand the importance of media, because it is the means in which you communicate with the people that you lead. And it is important that there is communication between you and the people that you lead, so that they can direct your policies. And also, you can also sell your policies to them so that they can own them and they can back you up. Because without this communication between the leaders and those being led, then there is no leadership, there is no country. So for us in the young generation, we understand the importance of media, be it social media or mainstream media. They are all important. And there are no questions that cannot be answered. Because if you are sincere in your work as a political leader, there is no question that you cannot answer. So that is the generational issues and where they come from. Their background is a background of soldiers, and soldiers always like to speak less.
Great. I really appreciate you coming here. That will encourage some who are really shy, like you said, they don't want to come here. Sometimes they feel, oh man, Jongkor is going to put me in trouble. He's going to touch this area. But no, we are human like you, but we care about the country.
No. That's right. Jongkor, you even care more than me, because you are in diaspora, and there is nothing pressuring you, because you live in a different way. You have your own apartment. You live here. You can even forget about it and live a happy life. But you have refused to forget about your country. And from that distance, you are always on social media speaking about our issues, hours and hours. It means that you love our country. So for me, even if I disagree with you, I know you love your country the way I love my country, and that we just disagree on how we approach. And how do we solve this? Is by talking to each other. It's not by avoiding each other. So the more we talk to each other, the more we understand that the best way to love our country is to do this. Like now we have come to an agreement that violence is not going to solve us, and is not the best way to love our country. Even if we disagree with President Salva, or you agree with Dr. Agel Machar, the best way is not to shoot him. The best way is to dialogue with him, and also dialogue with the people that you lead, and let the people decide which idea is better. So we not all of us consider you guys the enemy of the people. We see you as people who love your country, who are working very hard to see your country improve, and we are going to work hand in hand with you. It is just because our priorities are all over the place. But eventually we will have a program where we'll engage the diaspora, and people like you will be engaged directly by the government to see how we can work together to improve the lives of our people.
Thank you. Now, there is 2 questions here. Thank you for acknowledging that, Mr. Spokesperson of Vice President. Now, I have 2 questions here from 2 brothers, Niven, James. Actually, as a very crucial question. What are the strategies that government is taking to tackle the corruption? Because corruption, it become big culture in South Sudan. South Sudan become hunting field. People come and hunt, and they go South Nairobi and build nice houses and, have a luxury. And another question also from Brother Agwat here, he said, how confident are you with 5 vice presidents? So go ahead for these 2 questions.
The issue of the 5 vice president, it sounds out of place. I agree with that. And it goes back to the first question that I said earlier, that this agreement is not perfect. But if it helps us transition to a peaceful country, the government under President Salva is ready to make all the compromises and leave no stone unturned to make sure the country is transitioned to peace. So if this is the price we have to pay for peace, we are willing to pay for it. It's not perfect, but it's better than war. We cannot continue the war because we don't have a perfect agreement. So that small agreement, that imperfect agreement, if it helps us transition to a free and peaceful election, we are ready for it. And the other question was about the corruption. Of course, the corruption is actually the cause of the war, according to me. This tribalism and everything else is how do you manage the resources of the country to the benefit of the people, the owners of that country. So this is the major challenge, not only to the government of South Sudan, not only to the regional governments and continental government of Africa, but even American government themselves. So it is the nature of human being to try and look for shortcuts and corruption. It is actually the institutions of those countries that help manage corruption of human beings. The problem we have in South Sudan is that we have weak institutions that are unable to check the financial systems in the country and to account for those that misappropriate public funds. So it is not about President Salva not willing to fight corruption. It's the fact that he does not have the proper tools for him to effectively fight corruption. So in a peaceful country, it is the work of the government to make sure that the institutions are tightened and the knobs are tightened to ensure that corruption is reduced in that country, that people move towards reduction of corruption. Remember, even Kenya, that have been stable since the 60s, are still fighting corruption up to now. President Uhuru has started in the last 1 year a very serious push to fight corruption in Kenya. So we are not saying that we are corruption free, but what I can tell you is that President Salva intends he has always been his intention to fight corruption. But my observation is that he does not have the tool and the institutions that are mature enough to be able to track and check corruption in the country. But with coming of peace and stability in the country, this institution will be established, will be reformed, will be restructured, and will be strengthened. And hopefully more funds will go to the right places, and that is the people of South Sudan in the coming years.
Actually, Brother Agel, you said that President Kiir doesn't have proper tools to fight that corruption. But it seemed to me if President Kiir actually allowed the judicial to be separated and independent, I think they will do the job. If President Kiir actually hiring the young South Sudan who are patriots, who care in financial sector, because I have a brother, he actually asked that question. Is that possible for the government to hire someone, good in economists, young economists, to be in charge of Minister of Finance and the Central Bank of South Sudan? I think that can help the institution.
That is also personnel. Personnel is also an issue. But if the institution itself is not strong enough, even if you bring a strong person in charge of it, he will not do anything. He will just sit on top of a system that is not working. So that's why I first started by strengthening the institution. When you strengthen the institution and then you bring in somebody that is effective, then you now move forward. So what you said earlier on about making sure that the judiciary is free is part of the permanent constitution making process that all of us will participate, even the diaspora, to make sure we contribute to writing a permanent constitution that is beneficial to us and will help strengthen the institution of accountability in the country, like the Anti-Corruption Commission, like the Audit Chamber, like the judiciary, to make sure that those who are accused of such process are accounted for according to the law of the land. So all this building and strengthening institution will help us put the right people on top of those institutions and help us reduce the issues of corruption and impunity in the country, whether impunity in conflict or impunity in corruption.
So my last question, spokesperson of First Vice President. Now, next coming interim period, are we going to see an independent institution, the executive, the judicial, and the legislative? Are we going to see them as independent institutions. So when someone is still a dime, and then the judicial can go after them without any interference of the presidency. Is that something going to happen?
It will happen in the country. It has to happen. There is no any other way out. People must pass through that. And so one of the main issues that I keep repeating, one of the main issues of the transitional period is to write the permanent constitution. South Sudan is still on transitional constitution. So this writing of permanent constitution will delineate exactly what are the powers of the judiciary, what are the powers of the executive, where the president lies, and what are the powers of the assembly, the parliament. And so this process will not be done by few people the way it was done in 2011. It will be a people-driven process where the people of South Sudan put all their ideas and their views to a constitution that reflects all of us and our ideas, all of us. And this constitution will ensure what you are saying, and that is the checks and balances and division of power between the three branches of government.
Okay, again, we are asking for inclusive peace. We don't want anyone to be left out. And I think we got disrupted while I asked you that question. I put this question as the last question for you. What is government is doing, to bring in those who are still left out, such as Thomas Cirillo, Hakim Darius, Paul Malone, in order to make this inclusive so we don't have any guns, shout out on the neighbor or the road, what they are doing.
The government has appealed, and the first vice president has appealed to these people through the media and through private channels. And that is, brothers, our peace will not be comprehensive until you join. Reconsider your positions and join us in this peace so that the people of South Sudan finally get a break from this madness and give themselves a chance to rebuild their life that have been torn and disrupted over the last few years. So while we are happy with the peace agreement that has been signed, the government will continue to stretch out the hands of peace, the hands of reconciliation, and an olive branch to all these opposition that are still holding out to make sure they reconsider their position. Yes, the agreement is not perfect, but some of these small fine-tuning can come, and we will come and do them as brothers in the country. We cannot fine-tune everything abroad. The region of IGAD, the continent of Africa, the African Union, and the United Nations, the Troika, they have done enough. They have done enough to bring us this far. What is left now is for us, the leaders of the country, to take responsibility of our country and our issues, and to fine-tune those small rough edges that are not there in the agreement inside, to make sure we transition ourselves to a peaceful society where our political differences are handled amicably and not by barrel of a gun.
Well, Mr. Spokesperson for the first Vice President, Agel Machar, I really appreciate you and your courageous for coming in to answer some question. I want to give you the last word before I let you go, because you have other, responsibility that you are dealing with. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm happy that you have given this opportunity to speak to our people again. And thank you for the work that you do for your country. Don't let anybody belittle what you do. The masses listen to what you say and what the people in your forum say. Your questions have been responsible. So thank you for this opportunity. To the people of South Sudan, let's remain hopeful that peace is coming. The peace agreement may not be perfect in the eye of everybody, but it is better than the war that has ravaged our country over the last 4 years. Let's give it a chance. Let's put all our weight behind it. Let's mobilize both regional and international support for it to make sure it succeeds. We have learned from our mistake as leaders. Our attitude has changed. The loopholes that were in the previous agreement have been fixed in this revitalized agreement. And President Salva and Dr. Riek have decided they are going to reconcile. General Taban and the rest of the leaders in the country have decided they are going to reconcile. And we will preach the message to the people of South Sudan to reconcile among themselves and give ourselves a chance to build our new country, exploit our resources in a way that will benefit us and future generations. So the time has come to close the ugly chapter of the last 4 years and open a new page of peace and reconciliation and unity of the people of South Sudan.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I hope I will see those leaders, hugging each other and visiting those, displaced people on the camp in Juba and Wow, on other areas that affected. And then South Sudanese will return from the neighboring country. Thank you so much, for coming to Concerned Citizen of South Sudan, sir. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
All right, you have it, my concerned citizen of South Sudan. I can apologize one more time to you because we have so many problems today. It didn't work out at 10. I have to change, you know. I don't know. I cannot speculate. It might be hackers or it might be network. Something happened. I'm not able to do this thing, you know, perfectly today. But at the end of the day, we manage it, and we have our guest was able to answer question and he speak to you live here. So let me go ahead and see who are those who are requested, so we can bring you in and have your contribution as well on the forum. So, Dora Boon, I saw you there. I'm calling you right now, Dora Boon. What happened? Let me do this. Hopefully this thing will work. Answer from live. Why there is no answer from live? I tried to call you Dora Boon, but it looked like it's not giving me a chance. So I don't know why it's not giving me a chance. Let me go ahead to the next person here. And let me go ahead and get this. So Sarah, I'm calling you. Go ahead and answer that. Calling you, Sarah. So it's not responding.
Our founder, Herman
Let me go ahead and do this today. One more time. So now. So Tongjang, I'm trying you because I tried to call. The network is not good today. So it's good. Hopefully the network is gonna cooperate. It look like your picture is frozen.
The craziest part is.
Go ahead. Tongjang, do you hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. What's your intake here?
Thank you, Nasib Jongkor, for bringing in my precious cousin, Agel Machar in our. And I like that one. I'm very proud of him. Even he answered some question, is working with the government. But a girl is outspoken. And this is in blood of our family, of my children of our Macham. A girl is a very young politician, got himself in very dangerous upward position. Government of Kir now, you can see symptoms of accepting defeat, but they don't want to admit, and they don't want to create more room for young people. But young people now are working their way out. War is rich people, like in 2013, people like a girl, those that were young take up gun. So then we created young people for trying and killing of our people in the bush or wherever, whether government, whether opposition, resulted into gun. It's not a top priority. It's a country that people are intimidation. That's what led into those kind of things. Such like myself here, I never have no gun, I never kill nobody, and you see the language. When someone talking, it's like someone soling daughter of Jesus Christ. Some young, I just don't know what it is. So a girl did good is what is supposed to say, but it's a politics. He worked, he tried to say things, and also at the same time he want to keep his job. So thank you for bringing in like that one. Just don't bring in all those politicians. They will be calling you later on to say, Jongkor, we need to talk to you. Peace is coming, and we call for a conciliation. Do not bring them in. Next time, do not bring them in. Right now, you call someone 40 to 43 to 44, and anybody is 50, do not bring them in. Unless those who refuse to sign the peace. And those politicians who are affiliated with the racists and endorsing all those kind of radical militancy, then we exclude them. There will be one day they're going to call you for a refugee to appeal for people to come back. So keep talking with young people, the fees of our country and changing attitude, particularly family of ruling party, those who have their family in the government. We don't want anyone to talk. Southern Sudan belongs to their mothers, and I don't know where they think where we come from. I really give you a good job, give you credit. It's always, and you're doing it always. Even people, sometimes there are a lot of people calling for you to be hang alive, and I don't know where they get that power. So you did a good job.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tongyang, and for your words and, speak. I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to bring somebody else. I want everybody to participate today so we can hear different perspective as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay blessed. All right, who is next? I'm going to try you one more time. Dorabun, please go ahead and send me another request because that one actually didn't go. Send it in, and then I'll bring you in as well. Let me go ahead here and call you. Calling you right now. Go ahead. Charles Deng, go ahead and answer. Hey, Charles, good to see you. How are you?
The network problem, huh?
I think it's a network problem because right now I'm using an old phone with home internet from bed. It's not the cell phone internet,
Yeah, Laras Azar Sura Butak is still checking your picture today. It's checking. I don't know. It's still
I see that. Yeah.
Check. Yeah. So you may still have a lot. Maybe you have some shooting somewhere, man.
I know.
Hey, well,
so what do you think, Charles?
Hey, by the way, that's my buddy. We used to be in Nairobi together. So we've been in Nairobi in 90s. So it's my buddy.
Okay.
They used to live in Ongomo. I was in Langata. So we are buddies. I know him very well. The good thing about Agel is a spokesman. Oh, he know how to talk. And he know how to present himself. And he's a well-spoken. So, and he was very careful the way he was talking. He don't want to, anything concerning the government, he tried to avoid it, which is good for him. It's a logic for that. But he laid down, whatever he laid down, these are the future plans. So he said there's a lot of things in the paper. But assassin, the all of the other people is still back to peace. The main thing, and Kalmada like Agil to be implemented. We need peace to be implemented. This is the main thing. And we need to put trust to our leaders. So if President now he accept the peace, which is good, and we want to see more. We want to see his hand reaching other places. We want to see President moving around with the Agel Machar, international community, to the state, to the chief. So we want to see that. Soon we see that, then our citizens, they will realize that, yes, our leaders now, they are reconciled. Because you see, reconciliation, reconciliation is come through the work. The more you commit yourself on the working, that's reconciliation by itself, because people want to see something. So we expect them to do more. This is what we wish to do. We them to do well, about this peace. And also to those who have a doubt, who have a fear of this peace also, let them join in and let them put their hand. Because the time is coming at Jongkor. There's no time for the peace. Say, hey, South Sudanese, this is your time for the peace. No. Peace is already there. Right now. So it's time for our citizens to forgive. Forgiveness, let us forgive ourselves. because you see, when we touch all the bad stuff, it will remind us in a bad shape. So we need forgiveness and we need implementation. This is the more thing I will focus on it. And I wish all those leaders, whoever signed that peace, let them implement the peace. And let us avoid the negative, let us avoid the doubting, let us avoid criticism to each other. Hey, you did this in the past, and you did this, you stole the money, and so on. So implementation of this agreement, it will help the country and will tell us exactly what 2021 is going to look like, what 2022 going to look like. This one is going to come out from the implementation of the peace. If we are not implementing, if they don't implement the peace, then the 2021, 2022 is going to be hard for us. So let us hope. Let us hope and let us pray for them so that let the healing cover our country, our brother Jongkor. So I will not talk a lot, but brother Agel Machar, he did well. I love one thing. He made some little bit joke here when you asked him about the exit generation. You know, you see the way he answered it? Girl, you know, I don't want to sign that. I want to, you know, I want to enjoy my life. You know, you see that? That's good. You don't want to be a part of the Dr. Peter Ajak. So be away. You don't want to be in blue building. But all in all whatever he say, it depends on the peace. Yeah, it depends on the peace. When we see a good peace, whatever our brother say here, it will be good for us. So everything depends on the peace. So thank you for bringing it, and it's very short, but it's good. So today is a
Yeah.
good conversation. This is the language we want now, Jongkor. We need to talk about reconciliation. We don't need to talk about, you know, challenging who and so on. So it's time for the peace now, and brother Gel is already opening. So thank you for bringing him. Yeah.
Thank you, Charles. And please stick around. I'm gonna go for other people here who are waiting. I see a lot of requests here. And if I need you, you may just send in a request again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let me go ahead. That was Dan. He contributed to this talk. Let me go ahead and see who is next here. Yeah, that will be okay. All right. Martin Dominic. Let me go ahead and call Martin Dominic. And then after and I would give everybody. I saw your request as well, Sabata. I saw your request. So many people here have sent in a request. Anybody push a call? Yes. Can you push that button a call? Push the green button so I can bring you in. So Martin Simon, I don't know what's going on with the network. I'm calling you now. It looks like it's not going through. Hopefully it will work. So keep adding up. So it looks like there's something wrong there. We go back to the list. Okay, I'm calling you a call. Go ahead and answer that. Go ahead and answer. A call you decline. انت عملت decline. So ممكن تاني بعدين مرة. No answer from the video, Sabata. Go ahead and, you know, refresh your device. It looked like something wrong with it. Yeah, I said no from, okay. Now it's setting up. Let's try it. Yeah, I didn't go through. I don't know what happened. I think I have bad network today.
Yeah, brother.
All right. What happened? That's weird. You come in and you disappeared. Go ahead and send it in again, Agwat. I don't know what happened, why you disappeared.